Hi y'all, this is Chika. You're watching the Think Alpha Project. Thank you all for tuning in.
All right, guys, we are back on another episode of the Think Alpha Project, and we have here this week the one and only Chika Okoro. Nice to have you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
No, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad we got to reconnect a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're able to help each other out like this is really beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, we've been here for 2 hours already. but it was cool because, we got to really connect. So that's what I appreciate about this too. But once again, I really appreciate this because I know you're busy. You top notch, Ivy Leaguing, top notching, big shotting. So we're going to get right into it though. I know that you have so much that you continue to do, so much that you've done already that I'd like for us to talk about. So what would you consider your expertise? Like, how would you describe your expertise right now?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say it's a couple. One is consumer marketing. I spent my whole career in marketing.
Nice.
That's one. Two is, I'm just kind of like something that I've done as a hobby, want to do more. It's, public speaking and speaking specifically on topics that can uplift and empower young women of color. So really trying to, find more opportunities to really talk more about and spread more awareness around issues that affect us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you're also at FabFitFun.
Yes.
Right. And then you are I think I read the head of marketing.
Yeah, head of consumer insights marketing.
Consumer insights marketing. So what is that? What do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, so I'm in charge of knowing everything about who our customer is. So who is she? What is she like? What does she look like? How do we make sure that we are providing her the best experience possible? Everything from making sure we're putting the right stuff in the box, which is really important because before I came, we were super small, only maybe under 300,000 members. And so it was easy for one of our co-founders, this woman, a lot of our customers were just like her, look like her.
300,000 is small?
Well, compared to where we are now.
Wait, where are you guys now?
Now we're at almost 800,000.
Oh, dang.
So growing really quickly.
Wow.
But what I was saying, so before I came, before my department started, I started that department, she just had a knack for what people like. It was all, women that look like her, same age as her, etc. But now that we've expanded, it's hard for just one person to know what's a product or what are the needs and
for sure.
Of everyone. Our boxes are all over the US and in Canada. And so my job is to really be that voice of the customer. So when we're in the meetings of, let's put this in the box, let's put that in the box. And I'm like, based on what we know about our customers, based on the data, based on the research I've done, I really think we need to include, a wider variety. So I try to really be that voice.
Right, absolutely. So you're doing marketing, you're doing that, and then also want to talk about really because I know that you did a TED Talk, and I remember the title. Well, I remember it being about colorism.
Yep. Right?
And so talk about that real quick. Talk about your experience, or first off, what the talk is about.
Sure. So the title is, it's called Confessions of a D-Girl, Colorism, colorism and beauty in the US. And so I'll go back and I'll tell you how that whole thing came about. Because usually people are like, wait, Chika, how did you how did that happen?
How did you even?
How does one sign up to give a TED Talk?
I actually didn't know that. Yeah,
and so the thing is, that talk, it wasn't even kind of originally created for TED. So the grad school program that I was in, we have a public speaking class. It's kind of like Toastmasters. I've heard of Toastmasters. Yeah. Where it was about 30 of us, and we all came up with different talks on different topics. It could be on anything you wanted. And the professor, as well as all the other TAs or all the other aides in the class, are all professional public speakers. Either they've spoken at a TED conference or they're TED coaches, things like that. And so it's an opportunity for us to develop our public speaking skills with the help of professionals. And it's all about how do you talk about something you're passionate about in a way that's accessible to others, has a call to action, and just, public speaking principles. And so, and I think that's a really cool thing that my program offered. So even before I got into that grad school, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like that's one of the reasons why I want to go to that school, like to have the opportunity to kind of develop a TED style like talk. And so I've always known I wanted to sign up for that class. And I always knew that I was going to talk about something related to race, or probably like race and gender. That's very important to me for obvious reasons.
Right.
And then, and so the beginning of the talk, I talk about the Straight Outta Compton casting call. Because that's, and so brief background. So I remember, I think it was summer of 2015, Straight Outta Compton comes out. And I loved that movie. I was obsessed. Because even though I'm not from Compton, just being from LA, right? So like I'm from LA, so I'm like, yes, movie about us, about black people in LA. Yes. So I saw it in theaters 3 times. Like I love that movie.
But you one of those moviegoers.
I loved it. And it was well done. It was actually a good movie.
Right.
So then I see online, someone posted the casting call. And in that casting call, it categorized girls from A to D. And the A girls, it was like, like super beautiful, like, super beautiful, like listed all these races. Black was not listed. Like super beautiful, long hair, thin, all this stuff. And then you go down, B girls. For B girls, it was like, you had to have light skin, some that looks like Beyonce, which was like, literally I had to scratch my head. I'm like, so someone that looks like Beyonce is a B girl? Then the C girls, it was like, brown, like caramel skin, like brown skin, like could have relaxed hair. Then you go down to the D girls, and D girls are like dark skin, like could have braids and natural hair, just like all these things. And so I read that.
Also like overweight on it. Did it say?
Yeah, it was like not in shape, like dark skin,
not in shape.
And I remember reading that and just having all these emotions, because it's like, on the one hand, I loved Straight Outta Compton. Right. And so I felt almost like betrayed, because I felt like this is a movie like for me, for us, for black people. And that was, I feel like 2015, that was before lots of like black movies came out. So it's like there wasn't that many black movies out, and this movie's out. And then I feel like, well, here's a movie that I feel like is for me, but according to this casting call, it's not quite for me. Technically, I'd be a D girl, according to the requirements. And when I read that, I'm like, that's what I'm going to give my talk about. I'm going to talk about colorism.
Wow.
And how it's today in 2018, it's still a thing. So that's how I had the idea for it. And so at the time, my thought is like, okay, cool. Because in this class, we give the talks to our other classmates. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be an opportunity for me to educate my, largely white classmates about a topic that maybe they don't really know about. So it's more so a way for me to share a bit more about my experience and kind of what my experience has been as a black woman growing up, as well as to educate on this topic. And it's a quite personal talk. I talk about just kind of my experience and, it's kind of what colorism is and what my experience has been with it and what I hope for the future. And it's pretty personal, pretty vulnerable, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is just for my classmates. Like, this is just a way to connect with my classmates. And I loved it, because after that, I had so many conversations with so many people, like, oh my God, I didn't know about this. This is so fascinating. This is so interesting. And even it was cool, even talking to people of other races and ethnicities. I had a lot of Jewish women come up to me and was like, I really identify with that. Because when I was growing up, I wanted nothing more than to have, a little nose and straight blonde hair, but I had, curly black hair and a crooked nose, and no one thought I was pretty, and so it's interesting how it struck so many different chords.
It cuts across, and it cuts across different cultures, And
so I just thought it was a beautiful moment for me to connect with my classmates. And so the director of that class, he also runs the Stanford's TED program, and he was like, Chika, like, would you be open to giving that talk at the TED conference? And I'm like, I mean, you can't say no.
No, would you say no to that? No.
And so now here I am giving this talk in this platform, and then so then they post about it, and then it just got crazy views. Like, it just got, people shared it so much, just got picked up so widely, and so now it's like everyone's seen it, and it's just weird, because it originally was more so, I viewed it more as more of an intimate talk with my classmates, and now it definitely has reached a much wider audience than I had expected.
So I get that and that story is amazing. I get that a lot of people, I would say women specifically, because I feel like there's a version of that for men.
Yes.
But if we were to keep it in with women, there's a lot of folks, a lot of women that go through that right now. Okay, but they haven't had the amount of actualization or self-awareness and access to tools to love themselves more, as let's say you might have had. I know that's happening now. What would you say is something that could really serve all these women who might be going through that to this day, who all they do is they wake up in that belief system, and the actions that they take, everything that they do is tailored to being that Eurocentric
the highest
rank as they can be.
Yeah, standard of beauty that has nothing to do with us, but we're judged on those terms, unfortunately.
Right. So what would you say? Because when I look at you, I look at someone who's very confident. You're very confident who you are. You glowing in your skin already. You're melanin popping, like you said. But you, most importantly, I can tell by the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way you walk in. Of course, we all have insecurities, but in general, to me, you strike me as a confident woman. And that's missing for a lot of women to this day. What do you have? What was something that they need to know?
And it's interesting you say that. You even said that before we started filming. And it's like I'm still getting used to really internalizing that, because for me, it's like it's been such a journey to get to the point where I am comfortable in my skin, comfortable in my hair. I cut off all my hair a year ago, and it was a very momentous moment. And just it was such a long, arduous, painful journey to get to a point where I do feel like, you know what, I'm awesome, I'm mom, I look good, it took a while to get to that point. And my hope is I want young girls to get to that point sooner. It shouldn't take 28 years to feel comfortable in your skin, comfortable in your hair, Right. And I think we're luckier now in that there are, I think, more role models. Because because to be fair, growing up, I think there were black celebrities and you see black people in Hollywood, but it was still within the same kind of, that's still that Eurocentric standard of beauty, right? Everyone had straightened their hair, either gotten a nose job or made sure they contoured their nose.
Fitting the mold.
Everyone was still fitting the mold. And then so for me, here I am trying to fit the mold, begging my mom at 11 to, relax my hair, even though that's so terrible, and, trying to do all these things. Whereas, now you can watch Black Panther and see Lupita with her natural hair and the main character is in love with her,
Love it, yeah.
I don't think I ever saw someone on TV with natural hair, dark skin like me, as an actual love interest. You don't see that.
And of the main character.
Yeah, that's a main character, not just the sassy sidekick, you know?
Right.
But even in, I really love that in How to Get Away with Murder, Viola Davis, she'll take off her wig. Because the thing is, black women, no, our hair does not grow out of our head straight like that. It is a wig, it is a weave, and that's fine. That's fine. And so I love that, because she'll have some scenes where it's she'll come back from, her work being a lawyer, her cool job, and then, she'll take off her wig, take off her eyelashes, and it's and we shouldn't be ashamed of that. That's who we are. Yeah, if you want to put on your wig, go to work, sure, but it's also okay to go home and take it off and still feel okay. And so I do think that just black women are getting more comfortable with, how they look, being natural, and we're not all just trying to be, light skin with long hair, that. I am seeing more acceptance. However, I still think there's a ways to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do.
There's still a lot of work to do, and I know for me, because I think about this a lot. All right, how do I make sure that my daughters do not feel the way I felt growing up? And so I know I will do everything I can to surround them with Black role models. Like, you're gonna see Serena and Lupita and Michelle Obama all over the walls.
Yeah.
But just to see, because it does make a difference when you can see people that look like you.
Right.
And if you feel like, and if it's not as accessible, then making an effort to maybe taking them to a Black museum, seeing Black art, really seeing learning our history, all of that, to really have pride in who we are and how we look. I think it's really important, because I feel like if we're not intentional, unfortunately, the messages that we get are not the messages that we need to be listening to. And so it's definitely being intentional.
Yeah, I just thought about the fact that you said, okay, so being intentional and showing your kids, and I know that you are, obviously you're Nigerian, and even more specifically, you're Igbo. We're from the same tribe, actually. And this is probably the first time I'm probably mentioning something like this in this podcast in general, but I'm pretty sure that being in that culture has contributed, obviously, in your confidence. And you knowing that you are...
It's helped a lot, for sure.
Fine the way you are. But for those who don't have that, I know you also mentioned, hey, if you're a parent, go show your kids that, right? But if someone doesn't know, or if they're grown already, what can they do? What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I would say, for me, how I internalize things is like, okay, I'm dark because I'm Nigerian, but I love being Nigerian. Okay. I feel like my parents really made sure, as yours did too, that culture is very important. I took a lot of pride in it, and so it's like, when I'm with my Nigerian community, I'm like, everyone's dark and it's fine. I had dark aunties and they all have great husbands and great families. So, but then it's kind of when I stepped out of that, when I'm kind of reminded that but not everyone will accept you because of that. And so I think once again, it's just being intentional. And to be fair, I think it was great that I did have that awesome Nigerian culture to self-affirm me. But I feel like because of that, I don't think my parents were aware of the other negative
that also play a role
that were coming in, right? And so we never really talked about it, had a conversation about it, because I don't even think that was on my parents' radar, that maybe she's feeling negative or lesser than.
And they didn't grow up in this environment.
Exactly, so they didn't grow up in an environment.
Yeah, they wouldn't know.
Exactly, so they just weren't aware. And so for me, I am navigating all these feelings and emotions and oh my gosh, why does nobody like me and all this stuff. And I think my parents just weren't aware, because it's we're going to Nigerian events and as you can see, it's great. Right. But to have that conversation of, what is that disconnect that you're feeling in school? What's going on there? And so I think for me, it's okay. So I had that awareness. And so to have that conversation and to really see, how are you feeling? What is going on? Just really, talking to your kids, especially, actually, I just did this interview for an NPR show called The Stoop, kind of talking about similar topics. And she was saying how her daughter is now 11, and she's like, yeah, and I'm noticing, she's looking in the mirror more, caring more about how she looks. And it's and I'm gonna need to take an active role in making sure that she loves what she sees in the mirror. Right. I don't think it ever occurred to my parents or my mom to make sure that I loved what I saw in the mirror, because it's kind of why wouldn't you? You're beautiful, duh. But here in the U.S., we get a different message, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation we live in today. I mean, but there is a way for us to go about it, just like you said. I mean, I think for me, on the side of being a man, there's a lot that plays into the role of masculinity, and I think it changes. The role of masculinity being a Black. That's so funny. I'm about to bring in something. The role of masculinity being a Black man, a Nigerian man in LA is actually different from what I've noticed in, let's just say, New York or the East Coast. That. And it's an interesting thing. Okay. And I think out here, for example, not that I do this at all, but let me give you an example. So if I'm walking with my dad the other day, I was out with my dad and we were just going to get something to eat. Yeah. So I was with my siblings as well, so we were all just hanging out. And I'm having a conversation with my dad, and my dad starts to hold my hand, right?
Yeah.
And part of me is like, Pops, man, like, that's what's going on in my mind. But out of respect for my dad, you know, is that in our culture, it's
in Nigeria, you see that.
Yeah, in our culture, it is perfectly acceptable
not a big deal.
for two grown men to walk down the street holding hands.
Yeah, you see that in Nigeria. Yeah,
as friends. Yeah, it's so common.
Mm-hmm.
But here is just interesting because there's like this, like, you know, and I was even watching this other show. What show is that? It's a show with Gabrielle Union on BET. I think it's
Being Mary Jane.
Being Mary Jane.
I'm reading her book right now.
The new book? Oh, I got it. What's the name?
It's called "We're Gonna Need More Wine," and talks about like anecdotes from her childhood, and it's crazy because also as a dark-skinned Black woman, so like I feel like she's kind of who a lot of dark people look up to, like Gabrielle Union, and she's talking about a lot of these things, and it's crazy that like she went through the exact same things that I was going through, but that was like 15 years ago, you know. So to see that in 15 years, things still hasn't changed. So I'm like,
it's still the same. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, so in that show, I just remember a scene where she had her boyfriend, the guy that's from the UK. There's a scene where
he's Nigerian.
Oh, the actor?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Her British boyfriend. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the British guy. Oh, that's crazy. That's cool to know. Wow, well, that's cool. So he's on the couch and he's asking for tea. He says he's gonna make some tea. Yo, she completely like makes fun of him for it, right? He's like, you make tea? Like what the heck? Like you making tea? And then he sits down. You know, he's not offended at all, but he's just kind of it's hysterical to him. Like it's funny. Yeah. He's just like, what's wrong with that? So he challenges her thinking about it. But then he goes and crosses his legs when he's sitting down.
This type of cross.
And then like that, exactly. Not like the wide one. Yeah, but not like the wide one, but this one. Yeah. Which to me, I was like, ain't nothing wrong with that. Like I was like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that to me. But then she goes like, look, see, there you go again. You know, there you go again doing that. Mm-hmm. And he's just laughing. And he's like, and so he challenges the idea of what a man looks like, what masculinity is. And so it just made me think, it's like, dang, it's so interesting because when I walk around, the way I talk or the way I connect with men, women, people always say it's so unusual because I think growing up in this culture, guys are taught to just be one thing and just be tough or whatever that is. And vulnerability has been so lost. And it's just an interesting, that could be a whole nother conversation.
No, and I will say, when I first saw your these episodes and these videos, the first thing that came to my mind is like, this is so needed coming from someone like you. Because I feel like very rarely do you see like a Black man, heterosexual Black man, you know, talking about emotions, being vulnerable, talking about feelings. I'm like, I don't think I've seen this anywhere. And I follow different podcasts, blogs, like things going on in the Black community, and like I don't think we have very many voices like yours. Yeah. And that's really important because I feel like a lot of men feel like they can't show the full range of emotions, you know, and really be reflective and all that stuff. So I was like, this is really important what you're doing.
Yeah, and thank you for recognizing that because that's on purpose. Because as I've grown, I've noticed that there is a missing of that. And I just so happen to be perfectly fine with being that, being vulnerable. And I think that there's strength in that. There's strength in vulnerability. You don't need, why do I need to act tough? Like, now, don't get me wrong, if anything popped off, I don't have to do it. You know, it's not a problem. But it's not even about that. It's about being truly in tune with how you feel, what you feel, and being able to express that. Because at the end of the day, there is an outlet. Like, you need an outlet for these, for men, for emotions. And that's why men go through so many problems today. It's because emotionally, they don't feel like they have the permission to release and to, let out things, even to cry. Like, I have no problem crying, Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you something though. Black Panther was crazy. But in Black Panther, let out a few tears.
In case people haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but in Black Panther, let out a few tears. There's a scene, you know, a few tears. But hey, I was like, you know, guys, dang man, that really made me think of. That scene really made me think of my dad. I didn't spoil anything, but it really made me think of my dad.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's just, yeah. I just wanted to tie this in because I know that you've had to go through quite a bit to grow into who you are today, like in how you feel on a daily basis. And I just want the people out there to know, like, man, you got to do the work on yourself. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
No, most definitely. It's yeah, like you have to do the work. Like I really had to do the work of being comfortable with myself and intentionally, you know, not letting the negativity get to me, intentionally saying, you know, I'm not going to seek out outside validation. Like really being like, you know what? F what other people say. Like I remember when I cut my hair, I'm like, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, I don't have a husband. This is only gonna delay it even further. Like, she's gonna like a girl with no hair. I'm like, but you know what? I don't care because I'm doing it for me. And those that can see that will be drawn to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so just really not needing that external validation and me being comfortable with who I am. And also like, kind of having to face my own internal demons, right? And really think about like really like what am I scared of? And like what is the worst that could happen? Okay, and what if it does happen? And then what? What? So no one asks you out. So I'll be in the same position I am right now. So but now I'll be happier, less time, less money spent. Like it's, you know, and just really having to be honest with yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what? I'm gonna be okay with that.
Wow, that is so profound. I mean, it's really cool to hear that. And I'll tell you something. You know, it's about, to me, it's about like you cutting your hair. I mean, I get it. I get that hair for women is a mark of beauty or whatever you want to call it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like you said, it doesn't take away from you necessarily. Because to me, it's all about looking your best from obviously from the outside, but that starts on the inside. It's like being at your best from the inside and having that radiate. Because people, like even me, as a guy, when I look at women, I might see someone I would consider pretty.
Yeah.
But it's funny because the next thing is a vibe. Like, okay, is there a vibe at all? Like, and as soon as I pick up on a negative vibe, the looks don't matter at all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then there's people who, you know, there's someone who's really attractive to me, for example. Then I'll pick up a really good vibe, and they appear even more attractive because of the vibe. So. Yeah. I just think that it's just amazing what you've done. It's because it really is about on the inside. Who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? And
I feel like if that's something I could tell young people, it's so easy when you're in like high school or something to think that like, oh my gosh, you know, all the guys like this girl. So if I look like this girl, then my life will be perfect. And it took me so long to realize like that's not true. Like someone will like you truly for who you are. And they'll see that if you're comfortable with who you are, then they're gonna be comfortable with who you are. And it's like, it's just so hard because like I know people have told me that, but I'm just like, you don't know how it is. You don't know what it's like. But now I'm like, that is so true. Because I will say, I think the quality of people that I've met has definitely gone up since I've cut my hair.
Oh wow, yeah, there it is.
Because I feel like now it's like I do feel much more confident. I feel like I am attracting those types of people. And so now I'm just like, dang, I wish I knew these secrets back when I was young. And so it's like, so I'm really trying to think, all right, how can I, you know, get my younger cousins or the young women that I mentor to let them know that, you know, just as you are right now is beyond perfect.
Right.
And people will gravitate towards that. And the thing is, like, if you're going, like, as you try to pander to what you think is beautiful or whatever, then if someone's attracted to you for that, that's not fun because that's not, you know, truly who you are.
It's not who you are,
you know,
in the first place.
Right. Yeah. Like you want someone who's attracted to who you are as a person, and there's going to be plenty of people who see that.
Right.
So it's like, now I know that. I'm like, oh, wish I would have known that 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's change some gear. Let's change the gear and go into the conversation of, okay, so I know you went to, for undergrad, you went to Harvard. That's number one. Okay, good. Thank you. And then you finished your grad school at Stanford. Mm-hmm. Okay, so these are two top elite schools in the world. Okay, young black woman who's gone through these schools, and you've graduated, you've made something of yourself. You know, you're working for an amazing company. I mean, you're good. Now, I want to know about your journey though through that, because I went to a school called Cal State LA, and I got my bachelor's degree in nursing, and I was the only black male in that class. Okay, and I remember plenty of times where you could tell, like, people were having conversations like, yo, you know, you want to meet after this, that, and I would say that, I would ask them the same thing, and they would say, okay, but then magically I just wasn't invited to these circles. Like, so I didn't much have academic support when it came to nursing, so I had to figure it out on my own. I'm assuming that, I don't know if the same thing happened for you, but I can imagine something like that did. You had to be the only person that looked like you in your class. Is that true? Not at Harvard and Stanford, but which is good.
Yeah, I would say I think it was about like 10% black people. Yeah, so they did have quite a few. Yeah, it was larger than people think.
That's double mine.
But let me tell you what I was exposed to that I wasn't ready for is that was my first time really being exposed to like wealth.
Wealth, got it.
Like rich people whose great grandparents went to Harvard.
Old money.
Who have a library named after them. Like, we're living in this dorm. I was like, oh yeah, that girl over there, her last name is the name of this dorm. Like, and I had never been exposed to that before. And it was just really interesting in terms of like, so you're saying like social circles that you weren't part of, same in that there's social hierarchies largely based on wealth, your lineage, right? Like who's your great grandfather, and seeing that and that's kind of what that social hierarchy was, and I was very well aware that I was not part of it. I am not part of the rich, wealthy kids club, and that was a very interesting experience. And the thing is, even within the black community, there was a wealth stratification, for
Interesting.
For sure.
And this is at Harvard, you're saying?
And I did not know any of that. I grew up in the IE. I grew up in Walnut, next to West Covina, Diamond Bar. I felt like we were all the same. It's kind of middle class. Some upper middle class, some lower middle class. But I didn't feel like there was an income stratification when I was growing up till I got to school. And so I met black people whose grandparents went to Harvard. And I'm like, were black people even allowed in the school at that time?
I didn't even know, I didn't, wow.
Yeah, and so there was a huge class stratification. And just in terms of the jobs people got, I remember I was talking to this one classmate of mine, black classmate, and I was telling him how my first job was in Burger King, which it was. I'm very proud of my first job being at Burger King.
Mine was McDonald's.
Right. My sister was at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's everyone's first job.
That's when I learned how to make 2 eggs at once.
You learn real stuff. So I told him that. I remember this black kid. He looked at me with almost disgust. He was like, your dad didn't hook you up with an internship? And I was like, no, my dad was working graveyard shift at this, local home. No, but that's what people talk about, they were working at these fancy banks straight after freshman year and all of that. And so that was really interesting. Just kind of this whole new class of wealth. And that's where I really felt dang, I'm black, not wealthy, there was no in. And then that was actually really hard on me, really trying to figure out those social dynamics of how do you find how do I find my place? How do I find my people? How do I find my friends? Because like people were judged on things that I never even thought about. And then so going back to being Black at Harvard, I think it's changed now, but at the time, like if you want an in with those people, you have to look the part. I mean, you better straighten up your hair, get your weave, and like you need to look the part if you're gonna roll with those rich kids. And yeah, I would say that was kind of when so now I was kind of trying to do that too. Like there's all these like secret, we don't have fraternities and sororities, but we have all these secret societies.
Wait, they don't have any fraternities?
Not that much. It's not a big presence. We have what's called finals clubs, which is pretty much an elitist version. And so typically you need to have, have family money, be a legacy. But the few that break in, you got look the part, you gotta all that. And, being a freshman, sophomore, I want that too.
Right, exactly.
So I remember, trying to get my weave and blah, 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 and like all this stuff, trying to be cool. And it just, I really struggled with the social scene there. So yeah, it was interesting.
Very interesting. So what part of that would you say, I can see what challenged you the most, but how has that shaped you to this day? Like those experiences with that.
I think it's just reminding myself that's like trying to fit into someone else's mold has never gotten me anywhere.
That's so real.
Me anywhere.
Oh my God, it's so real.
And it's just real. Like, I remember it wasn't until like the very end of college that like I found a group of friends who like, and I felt like I could just be myself with. And those are the friends I still have to this day. Like one of my best friends, she's actually my namesake. And yeah, we just bonded over the fact that like, like we weren't quite fitting in. And it's just like, and I feel like I spent so much time trying to fit in that had I just been myself and made genuine friendships and genuine relationships, like that's what actually sustained me. Yeah. And I feel like it's remembering that then when I went to grad school, which was kind of the same, but a ton of still rich white people. But I was kind of like, you know what? I'm not going to try to bust into those circles. If they want to be my friend, cool, but I'm going to be myself.
Exactly.
And I feel like I left grad school with such stronger friendships than college, because back in college, I was so caught up in trying to fit into some mold.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's interesting. The things we go through to try to fit in.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
To try to fit in. And I can agree with what you're saying, because that was my case even in business. I tried to do that for a while, and for the first time in a long time, I said, you know what? Forget that.
Yeah.
It's
tiring.
I'm gonna start this podcast. I'm gonna start it based on who I am, and in each episode, I'm gonna be me. Like I'm just gonna do it how I do it, how I want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said. What's cool are the people that are drawn to you, the people that you draw to yourself, and the opportunities that come your way. And it makes me think. It's like, dang, if I had just ignored the noise.
Right.
If I had known to ignore the noise. But obviously, we all have to learn the lessons. We gotta go through it to learn the lessons. So, it's okay. It's just interesting to hear that. So, another question for you is, what is something that you would say? What is something that you feel like people are missing that they really need to know? First thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah. I would say the first thing that comes to my mind is a lot of what we've been talking about, and that like you're perfectly fine exactly as you are.
Right.
And there's a couple of times kind of throughout my life when I've had to really remember that and think about that. And so I would say for me, so I've always been like a gold star chaser. I'm like, oh, okay, let me get this accomplishment, and that's how I'd validate myself. I'm like, okay, I went to a good school, so that means I'm smart. That means I'm a good person. But then at the same token, when you draw all your validation from an achievement, you take failures really hard.
Yeah.
And I take failures super hard. Cause like I remember in college, like everyone wanted to be like management consultants. Like that was like a very prestigious type of job that people would want. And so I remember I prepped, like I did everything. And I remember I still didn't get it. And I was devastated, like borderline in a depression, so devastated. And people were like, why are you so upset? I think it was because, like, for me, like, I validate myself on achievements. Then if I don't get an achievement, then that means, oh, then you're not smart. You're not a good person. You're not worthy. You're not blah, blah. And my friend, she had to sit me down. Like, no, she's like, you are great. I'm like, you're right. I am great. I'm smart. I'm all these things. And she's like, no, but even if you strip away all your accomplishments, like, even if you didn't go to those schools, even if you didn't accomplish any of the things you did, you're still amazing. And that was like a watershed moment. I'm like, I am? Well, no, but then I'm not amazing. It's those things that makes me amazing. She's like, no. So that's the problem. Yeah. Like, it's none of those things that makes you amazing. It's you. You, regardless of anything, you yourself are amazing. And like, even though I guess that seems basic, but for me, I was like, oh my gosh. Because now if that's the case, then I don't have to beat myself up over a failure. Now a failure is just a learning moment. Because succeed or fail, I'm still amazing. Oh, in that case, I could try different things, and I could try different things. You know, like you don't have to play so safe because you're scared of failing. Because if you do fail, then that just means, okay, that's not for you. Cool, let's pivot to something that is for you. Right. And it doesn't take away from who you are as a person. And like, truly, I feel like I didn't truly learn that probably till just like a couple of years ago. Like, that was definitely a journey for me to truly think that, like, no, my goodness isn't defined by accomplishments. It's defined by who I am as a person. Right. And then maybe it comes out through these things, but even if those things don't happen, I'm still worthy. Right. And I really have to learn that, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I hope other people learn that too.
Yeah. Standing ovation. You know what? No, it's that I talk about this frequently in my episodes, but this is very similar to what I went through. Do you think it has to do with being our culture, Nigerian? Because our culture is very heavy on academic achievement.
Yeah. You know? And even like, you remember, you just told me that story, how in Nigeria, people are ranked, and it is very clear. Are you at the top of the class, or at the bottom?
Bottom of the class, yeah.
It's our culture. Yeah.
And so to speak, you get treated, like for example, I became, the name of the position is called senior prefect. And for those who don't know, I was in a boarding school in Nigeria. So in high school, I was in a boarding school. Mm-hmm. I did grow up in LA, but I left for the first time ever out the country to Nigeria, and then came back to finish out high school. But anyways, yeah, senior prefect, which is like essentially the president. Mm-hmm. But it was because I was first in class. Mm-hmm. Maybe not just because of that, but it was heavily, that played a heavy role into that. And I don't know, I just wanted to ask you, I think in cultures where that becomes part of it, it's because that's all you know. And then you validate, because of growing up, I feel like my parents, if I got a C or a D or something, I'm getting yelled at. Yeah. Like straight up getting yelled at.
And I'm not saying that's bad. I think it's great that our culture does value achievement, education, all that stuff. But I think also at the same token, you have to also remember to balance that this is great, but this isn't everything. Mm-hmm. You know, like you still as yourself, you need to just grow to be a good person with character, you know, with morals. It's not just that, oh, you got an A and now you're perfect. It's like, yeah, but you also need to just be a good person. Right. You know, and who you are as a person is more important than your report card.
Absolutely.
But report card is important.
Yes, you gotta get it. You gotta make sure you study though. Yeah. Super key. So, okay, another question is, what would you say is an investment you've made that you'd say has served you the most? It could be monetary investment in something. It could be some time you spent doing something or building something.
I would probably say the investment of going back to business school.
Which is Stanford.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And not even so that's like because I was like transitioning careers or anything like that, but just because it's 2 years that you're not working, and so it's 2 years to really try to think about what it is that you want out of your life. You know, like, you know, a lot of people go to business school, you know, probably between 25 and 35, so kind of, you know, a quarter end of your life. So a lot of people have, quarter life crises of what am I doing? And so, I think it was good to be surrounded by, people. I had my group of friends I really trusted. And so we think about, okay, like what do I want for myself? Yeah. And what type of person do I want to be? And I'm even thinking about, I'm not, like I said, it wasn't just about what that next job, but what role does a job play in my life? Because my life isn't just my job.
Right.
And to be fair, I think Stanford's, their program, it's a very like touchy-feely type program. We have a class called Touchy-Feely where we just talk about our emotions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think that's great.
It's like an alternative type of business school. It's very about like leadership and people skills and like really knowing yourself, because you can't lead a business, be a business leader without first knowing yourself. So I feel like we spend a lot of time really trying to understand ourselves and what drives us and what motivates us, because then that can shine through in everything that you do. And so that was really helpful to really have that time to try to think about what's important to me. And it was during business school when I didn't get those jobs I really wanted and really had to think and say, okay, so what do I want out of life? My plan A was I was gonna come to business school and then get this job, but that didn't work out. So now what? What do I want for myself? And so I think those were really 2 years well spent where I think I grew a lot.
Yeah.
I think I grew a lot.
Yeah, wow. Wow. Okay. Chika. All right, so what how do we find you online?
How do you find me online? So you can find me on Instagram. I'm trying to be more active.
Come on, you gotta join the crew.
I know. So at Chika Okoro 825.
Okay, so how would we spell it? I mean, they're gonna see it in the show notes, but it'll be great.
CHIKA OKORO 825. My birthday.
825. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. That's great. And then anything else? Website or anything?
Coming soon.
They can Google you.
We watch my talk. But more details will be on my Instagram.
Okay, great. Well, I just but before we head out, I want to ask you one more thing. Mm-hmm. So, if there was a billboard, you were asked to put something on it.
Okay.
And this billboard would be seen by billions of people. What would that be? What message would you put on there?
Love yourself. For sure.
That's what I'm talking about.
For sure.
Why?
Because I think we can forget to. Because I feel like definitely living in Hollywood, a lot of the billboards I see are, Kylie Jenner.
It's true.
Kim Kardashian. Yeah. And so I'm like, dang, do I gotta look like that? So I want, as people are driving along, to see, no, love yourself.
That's beautiful. See, it's perfect. On the fly, too. You didn't need to prep for that.
I don't need to talk.
So you're good to go. No prepping here. We're just going straight in. No, but once again, I want to acknowledge you, first off, for, wow, it's just amazing at a time where a lot of folks are still struggling to find how to love themselves. You have chosen to be an example. You've done that for yourself first. Mm-hmm. And I know it's not easy to do necessarily, but you've chosen that's the path you're gonna walk. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be someone that you're for yourself first. You fill your own cup. Mm-hmm. So I just want to thank you, acknowledge you for being an amazing example of what that looks like and continuing to raise the bar in that. And I wish you the best of success. It's gonna be
you likewise.
Yeah, and hopefully, I know for sure we're gonna have more and more episodes. So don't worry. I feel like a good topic of self-love. Yeah, I'm gonna need to knock on your door another time. Yeah, so we can probably have a group discussion, make it something like that.
That would be really fun.
Good. That would be good, right?
That would be really fun.
Yeah. Put some thought. Give us some time. Give us some time. Yeah. We're gonna definitely. But I just want to acknowledge you one more time and thank you once again.
Thank you. This was great. This was really fun.